So much for joining us today. My name is Joni Parsons, and welcome to Revel 11 and the Chapters Book Club. We are wrapping up our November book of the month, The Menopause Moment, with Dr. Kelly Casperson. And we're so thrilled to have Dr. Kelly with us today to help dispel the myths about menopause. Dr. Kelly is a leading voice for women around for all women around the globe about menopause, testosterone, hormones, and so much more, everything that impacts us as women. She recently joined us here in Seattle, and one of the doctors in the room said it was the most important conversation about women's health she has ever heard. And we're so lucky to have Kelly with us today. In a recent post that we shared from Dr. Kelly, speaking at the FDA expert panel on menopause and hormone replacement therapy for women, which took place in July. More than 166,000 people watched her speech on Revel 11, which means women are looking for answers. We had so many comments about what to do, how to do it, how to talk to their doctor, because for too long, this conversation has been a secret chapter in many women's lives, in fact, all of our lives, but not anymore. Dr. Kelly is a urologist, an author, and a podcaster, and the author of this fabulous book called Menopause Moment, as well as this book, You Are Not Broken. She breaks down the misinformation and madness that so many of us have been taught about our own bodies. And you can also catch her on her fabulous podcast by the same name, You Are Not Broken. Welcome, Dr. Kelly.
Thanks for having me.
I am so happy to have you here today. And let's go ahead and take down that video there. So, Dr. Kelly, we have had so much energy and groundswell around menopause since World Menopause Month and your visit here in Seattle. Can you kind of give us an overview of where we are right now today?
Yeah, so we're sitting at the end of 2025 where the boxed warning has now been removed from the package insert. And I want to clarify that because I actually did an hour on NPR yesterday. If you want to go check it out, it's the 1A news show that was out yesterday. The link will be coming out in my newsletter today or tomorrow for that. It was great. And what people don't understand is they think we just took warnings off of medications completely. We didn't do that. All medications have risks and benefits and warnings in them. But there's a big box at the top of some medications. It's called the boxed warning or black box warning because it's outlined in black. And this is the definition of a boxed warning is significant threat to life. Okay, most people don't know there's a boxed warning. If anybody takes antidepressants here, I know they do because 25% of American women take SSRIs. There is a boxed warning that says risk for death by suicide. Most people don't know that. A significant threat to life. So, 20 years have gone by. We've got tons of data since the boxed warning went up. Replacing the hormones your ovaries naturally make is not a significant threat to your life. And so all the FDA did, which was correct misinformation, was to say, hey, this doesn't deserve a boxed warning anymore. So that's a recommendation. If you get an estrogen product this week, you'll still see a box warning. It's going to be historic because companies have to adjust and change their printing press and repackage and all that stuff. So we don't know when it's actually going to happen. But that's pretty monumental in righting the wrongs of the past. And many experts will say that denying women hormone therapy over the last 20 years has probably been the most significant. And what we mean by significant is deaths and comorbidities, right? Bad outcomes because women have been denied hormone therapy. Many experts will say denying women hormone therapy is probably the worst thing we've done on a public health level in 20 years. Now, most women don't know that, right? Most women don't know, most women, shockingly enough, don't know what their body naturally does, right? Why do we even get pregnant? Right? How does the ovary work? What does the ovary do? Why do ovaries only work for a certain amount of years? Right? So body literacy is actually really, really poor. And it's on women. We're educated. You went to college, you run businesses, you've raised a family, you know how to parallel park. It is on you to understand the Ferrari that you have because by and large, men are Hondas. They're not Ferraris. They're different. We're not just little men. It is on us to understand this. And it is also on the doctors to get better trained, and they are in mass force right now. But I think a lot of women, and this is where the sea change comes, a lot of women are sitting around waiting for somebody to save them. And I will tell you this, nobody's coming to save you. If you want a healthy body, if you don't want osteoporosis, if you don't want diabetes, all of that is on you. You've got to sleep. You've got to not drink alcohol. You've got to eat properly. You've got to exercise. You've got to do all those things. And you have to advocate for hormones if that's what you need. Now, so many people, they're like, you need somebody who's a prescriber to help you with the hormone piece. But everything else, you don't need anybody else. It's all free and nobody's coming to save you. So I think that's the big sea change in 2025. Number one, we got the label off. That is years, dare I say, decades of advocacy. People saw me on stage and they just thought, like, on a whim on Tuesday, some people just decided to take the boxed warning off. That is absolutely not how it happened. Those are uneducated people who say those things. So that's the big advocacy piece. But the boots on the ground piece is women are waking up to the fact of, I see my mom aging. I see my aunt aging. I see the older people aging. And I wonder if there's a different way to do this. And the onus is on you because nobody's coming to save you with this. Frailty is not inevitable, but you have to do something about it.
Absolutely. And we'll talk more about how to have those conversations with your doctors and what to ask for in a little bit. But one of the things that, I see as one of the most important topics in a conversation is beyond what's happened with the black box and is testosterone. This conversation is hot, hot, hot. And as we saw in the post around your testimony at the FDA earlier this year, testosterone is a huge opportunity for women. Let's dive into this topic. There's so many people on the call today that want to know more, and this is a big opening for us as well. Can you kind of tell us the history of testosterone and then where we are today and where you see us going into in 2026 and beyond with opportunities for testosterone for women?
Yeah, so it might come as a shock to some people that we've been giving women testosterone for about 80 years.
80,
Just
only 80
I'll
years.
just let that
80
soak in.
years.
Everybody thinks, oh, what's this new hot thing? Like, no, you just didn't know before. So the other thing a lot of people don't know is that ovaries make hormones. The stereotypical one's estrogen, but actually the ovary makes more testosterone than estrogen. And you cannot get estrogen without first passing through testosterone on the cholesterol pathway, just biochemistry. You can look it up. But what we did is we gendered the hormones. We said testosterone's for men and estrogen's for women, and we made them disappear in the other bodies. And here's the secret. Men need estrogen. If you block a man's estrogen, his sex drive goes down. Estrogen is important for sex drive in men. So is testosterone. But I say that to say you have to give people the education, because if you come out of the gate saying, should women take testosterone, and they don't know that ovaries make it, and they don't know that it naturally declines with age, they think you're crazy. So you've got to give them the education first to say, what is it? What makes it? Oh, we've been doing this for a very long time. We currently do not have an FDA approved female dose testosterone. Women make about 10 to 20% the testosterone that men do. So you can imagine the products that are made for men are very high dose. They're fine if you want to be trans man. We give people that. But by and large, for female dose, it's about 1/10 the dose. So right now, because we don't have an FDA approved product, we have to microdose a male product. We have to compound a cream. We have to use a compounded or microdose of male injectable. We have to use a pellet. Lots of things that are less accurate. They tend to be wonderfully cheap, which is nice because 1/10 of a product lasts you a long time. But unregulated, not as accurate on dosing, and anything. I don't know if you guys have noticed, insurance doesn't like to pay for things that aren't FDA approved. So there's a big burden on the woman for extra cost, where her male partner gets this stuff for dirt cheap because it's FDA approved for men. So there's a big gender bias. And a lot of people think that, oh, we don't have an FDA approved product because it doesn't work or it's dangerous, or some people say it's addictive. It's all those things are wrong. We don't have a FDA approved product because gender bias. So we've got about 20 male products. We've got about 10 different Viagra type products. Like, the bias in sexual health and hormone health is absolutely real. There's a new documentary that's out called The Pink Pill that's pretty damning to how the FDA prioritizes male health over female health. But I bring that up because people assume that we don't have a product because of some sort of scientific reason. There's actually a female dosed patch called the Intrinsa patch that went up to the FDA in 2004. Now, it had safety data, it had efficacy data. Why was it not approved? Well, 2004 was 2 years after 2002, which was the Women's Health Initiative, where the media basically said women's hormones are trying to kill you. So it was a very, for lack of a better word, politically unfriendly time for hormones to go up. But just to tell you, that was 20 years ago, right? And so the other thing that's happened because of the WHI is we really haven't been researching hormones for 20 years. So a lot of the data is older data. Again, we've been giving women testosterone for 80 years. And a lot of the great data comes out of the 80s and 90s. And oftentimes I'll share that on my Instagram because it's like, oh my gosh, if it works this well. And we've just been like going in slow motion at this point. So what does testosterone do? We have testosterone receptors all over our bodies. I would say most importantly, if I got to pick, it works in the nervous system. What's the nervous system? The nervous system is your brain and your nerves. So testosterone helps the dopamine pathway. Testosterone helps the serotonin pathway. What are those two things important for? Dopamine is important for motivation, also known as libido, right? A drive towards something. So a lot of women that when I give them testosterone, they'll say, well, yeah, my libido's better, but also I want to do a 5K and I want to build my deck and I want to, it's motivation for life. Why? Dopamine pathway. What's the other thing that testosterone works well for in the brain? Serotonin pathway. What's serotonin important for? Mood, right? I feel more like myself. That's the big one. I feel like I just have more energy. I don't hit a wall at 3 p.m. These are all kind of very vague things. I can't x-ray Joni and say Joni doesn't feel like Joni, right? It's intrinsically who you are because of your dopamine and your serotonin pathways. And both estrogen and testosterone play a role. But I would say by and large, where testosterone really shines is the nervous system. Now we know men with low testosterone, increased risk of depression, increased risk of dementia. Are men and women's brains and dopamine pathways and serotonin pathways all that different? No, we just don't have the research on female bodies. Now, that's not a problem. We research male bodies all the time and give women the drugs. We've done that with statins. We do that with high blood pressure meds. We did that with sleep meds. That went poorly, right? We do that all the time where we study men and then just throw these meds on women. But with testosterone, we're like, oh, we can't look at that data though. We need our own. So I challenge the bias in that to say, well, if statin research is good enough and high blood pressure medications, where men are, I would say, for lack of a better word, easier to study because they don't have fluctuating menstrual cycles, aka they're not Ferraris, they're Hondas. Hondas are cheaper, right? So it's easier to do research on them, to be more standardized. So that's why, if you're like, why are we studying in men? That's one big reason why. So I'm giving you a ton of information, but where the buzz is coming right now is because of social media and because of women telling their stories. And women are like, what is this? And then the other problem is access. So the FDA is actually having a male roundtable December 10th for anybody who loved the July one and wants to watch the men do their thing. December 10th live on the FDA YouTube. They're going to do a male roundtable. It's going to be all about testosterone. It'll be more about male testosterone because it's a male panel. But for anybody who loves a man and cares about male testosterone, and they're going to do a really important thing, they're going to asked to have it deregulated. Now, the other problem with testosterone is because of the Olympic doping scandals of the 1980s. Remember East Germany?
Yep.
Remember the swimmers, right?
Yep.
So, because of the Olympic doping scandals, our Congress got really pissed that the dopers were winning, and they passed the Anti-Doping Act of 1991. It's all anabolic synthetic, stuff that is performance enhancing that the average person's not going to take, right? But what they threw on there, the FDA didn't want it on there, the DEA didn't want it on there. Congress put testosterone on that list because it is a scheduled 2 in some states, scheduled 3 in some states, restricted medication. It's harder to access. Doctors need a separate license for it. You have to have a doctor's visit twice a year instead of once a year. And it gives it the reputation that it's addictive or dangerous or performance enhancing. I tell you, me replacing your testosterone to where it was a decade ago will not make you a gold medal pole jumper. Like, it just will not do it. So what the big news for the men in December 10th is they're going to advocate to deregulate it. So we need two things on a policy level. We need deregulation, and we also need a female dose product, because that will open up this conversation. And look at how big the buzz on testosterone is now. Wait 1 or 2 years. It's going to be absolutely insane.
So do you think that we're a couple of years out for getting FDA approval, or when do you foresee that happening?
Yep.
2 years?
Don't quote me on it. I don't run a pharmaceutical company,
Yeah, yeah.
but things take a while. But the FDA is in a good place. They are doing a wonderful job of listening about what can we do. I mean, here's the deal. Let's talk about hormones. Hormones help healthy cells stay healthy. That's all they do. They're not magic. They're not I mean, they're kind of miracles, but like, they're not miracles. You still have to eat well and exercise and sleep and don't abuse alcohol and all the things. But hormones help healthy cells stay healthy. The FDA is actually very, very motivated to try to get people healthy. Right. So it's a good time for the hormone conversation to be happening, because what I mean by that is there's actually a chance of change, because for 20 years, nothing has happened. Nothing has happened. So it's exciting because things are actually
It's
happening right now.
exciting.
It's fun to be part of that conversation.
I bet, Kelly. So I recently, after you spoke here in Seattle, I went to my naturopath and talked to her about getting testosterone, and I'm going to get a small or get a prescription. How would you recommend women talk to their doctors about testosterone and the opportunities for them to get the product? That question was all over our comments. It's like, how do I get it? Is it affordable? Like, what do I do? How much do I take?
Well, it's part of an overall conversation about hormones, right?
Mm,
So if you come and visit me at the Casperson Clinic, I'm not going to just talk to you about testosterone. That's foolish. It's like, I'm going to keep drinking alcohol, eating McDonald's, not lifting weights, and like, can this one thing help me? Like, no, testosterone's part of a conversation. And I always tamper down the buzz, because like, Americans love quick fixes. Don't get your knees over your skis, right? You got to do all the other right things. So it's part of an overall hormone conversation. What are your goals? What are you hoping for? It is a conversation. So that helps answer the question, how do you get it? Have a conversation. I'm interested in optimizing my health. I'm working on X, Y, and Z. I would like you to help me consider a trial of testosterone therapy, estrogen therapy, progesterone therapy, vaginal estrogen, whatever it is. Here, bring in the guidelines, bring in my book, bring in the assets to make it easy. The other thing that you might want to do is go to somebody that your friends are already going to, because you know that they're hormone friendly, and you don't have to pitch. If you have to, any business owners here, if you have to pitch to a cold audience, it's not fun.
right.
So
Exactly.
pitch to a warm audience, right? Do they already help people with hormones? Is it an open conversation? By the time women come see me in my clinic, they're highly educated people. They've listened to my podcast, they've read my books. So like, we're ready to hit the ground running when they come, right? But if you're like, I just read a New York Times article, I want to try testosterone, Like you're missing that knowledge piece, which is going to get you further in the long run. Preventing frailty is a long-term job. It's not just like get on testosterone and and if you don't get educated about it, you won't know why you're on it, you won't know what your goals are. So education, 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 and then find a warm audience.
I'm
In
gonna
Washington State, as far as telemedicine goes, MIDI is a great hormone telemedicine, but they don't do testosterone in Washington State right now. Joy, JOI, is a wonderful telemedicine company. They do testosterone in Washington State. So those are the telemed options off the top of my head that can be friendly to you.
And then Kelly, is it too late if you're 65? Is there ever a time that it's too early or too late to take it?
Well, too early would be if you have normal levels of hormones. There's no reason for you to take hormones. No, there's no too late.
And then,
Telling you what, have you been to a high school reunion?
yes.
Does everybody look the same?
No.
No. So telling people that there's an age, like it's a legal voting age or something, like there you need a license, you need a special permit after the age of 70, like that's ridiculous. So what we've really done, and this is my joke, is like as a woman in healthcare, you're two ages. You're too young or you're too old. So you better find the darn perfect day to go to your doctor and ask for help. Because we don't do that to men. We don't say, oh, 62 and a half, can't. So you got to break that down and be like, are you serious? You think 65 is any legitimate reason to deny somebody healthcare? Now, what's the grain of truth in that? The longer you go without hormones, the more your body is aging without hormones. You might already have issues that you need to deal with, right? So when I see so in my clinic in Bellingham, it's the Casperson clinic, let's put a link in the chat for people. I see about a third of my women are perimenopause. Perimenopause is the zone of chaos. That's a bumpy ride. That is adjusting things frequently because you still got a little bit of ovary function. So a third is perimenopause. A third of my women are over 70 because these are my pissed boomers. I have a chapter in my book called "The Boomers Should Be Pissed" because the boomers were 51 when the 2002 Women's Health Initiative hit the airwaves. So they were denied hormones, and now they're like, "Oh, hormones are safe and amazing. Can I have some?" Now they're being told they're too old. So the boomers are rightfully pissed about that. But yesterday I saw two women in their late 60s, and we calculate their cardiovascular risk factor. Oh my gosh, you're not lifting weights, you're still drinking alcohol every day, right? Like it is part of a comprehensive plan to get you as strong as you can so the last 10 years of your life are amazing. That's the goal. So you're not
And
frail,
who
stuck.
doesn't want that?
Yeah, exactly. So that's the thing is like it's not the age thing is so insulting to women and it's so based in gatekeeping and lack of scientific data that it makes me cringe. But the kernel of truth is the best time to start hormones is as soon as you have low hormones in your body, right? Like if your pancreas doesn't make insulin, should you wait 10 years before you give yourself insulin? Or is it maybe better for you if you start the insulin as soon as the pancreas stops? Same with thyroid. Okay. So we already do this with organs that we don't
Yeah.
make. Same with cortisol and the adrenal glands, right? Same with parathyroid hormones. Like we already do this. We replace everything in our body if we can. You need hearing aids, you need glasses, you need new teeth, you need a heart valve, you need a shoulder replacement, you need a knee, you need a hip. Oh, but don't replace your ovary though. That's the one thing. That's the one thing. We don't replace that.
So,
Like
Dr. Kelly,
if
oh,
you
go
break
ahead.
that down, it's insane.
Right. It is. It's absolutely insane. So, do you test this by, this was a question in many of our comments. Do you test this by taking a blood test and having your doctor go through it with you?
Test what?
Test your hormone levels, your testosterone levels. Like, how does someone get the information that they need that their testosterone is too low, their hormones aren't working properly in their body? Like, what do you do as a doctor when
Yeah.
someone comes in so you actually know what's happening in your
I like
body?
getting a baseline just to have a baseline. Some people say you don't need to, but I'm like, I don't like guessing. and I like knowing where you are. Now, here's where you need an expert. Testosterone labs in America, this is all genders, this is man and women. What normal is not what optimal is. And the experts know that.
Exactly.
So if you have a man and he's got a testosterone of 305, he's technically normal by labs. And often he'll get denied hormones because he's normal. And often insurance won't pay for it because he's normal. Now, there is no man where 305 is an optimal testosterone range. It's actually the lowest 2% of male testosterones. So I give you that example to now bring it to the female example. Quest Labs, which is a lab we commonly use, female testosterone range is 2 to 45. Under 8 is the lowest 10% of all testosterone. But if you get a testosterone of 4 and you have somebody who doesn't know, they're going to say your testosterone's normal. Well, nobody with a testosterone of 2 isn't going to benefit from a trial of testosterone. So I say that not to blow off labs. Labs are important, but you must know how to interpret them. Labs can be wrong. You can have a bad blood draw, all the things. So you must have an expert who knows. Like I see people for second opinions. They just bring me their testosterone labs and their doses, and they're like, "What do you think about this?" It's super fun. So just because like, are we on the right track? Right? Because a lot of people haven't done the advanced training. I mean, this is the issue you're up against. We've got 1 million physicians, about 300,000 nurse practitioners, many, many less naturopaths. We've got 80 million women over the age of 40. All of them will have low hormones. That's what menopause is. Menopause is low hormones. It's not hot flashes, it's low hormones. And we don't have enough trained people to even give you your vaginal estrogen and your estrogen patch at this point. So now you're asking people to do really nuanced stuff, which is a non FDA approved, regulated testosterone with labs that don't help you say what's optimal. Like it's difficult. This is
It
hard.
is difficult.
And I don't tell people that to frustrate them and to have them give up, but to say, this is why you must persist. The deck is stacked against you.
Absolutely, it is. And you need resources like Dr. Kelly's book here and her podcast to listen and to get educated as much as you can so you know how to ask the right questions to your doctors and demand answers. And if you're not getting what you want from that doctor, to go to another doctor. And like Dr. Kelly said, ask your friends who are going to people who are doctors who are prescribing help where help is needed. So
Yeah.
in your book, so one of the things that I would like to know is that you have, women coming to you all the time. What is the question that still surprises you that you're getting all of the time?
Well, like I said, the women who come see me they're pretty educated. But a good way to answer this is so I did the NPR news hour yesterday, and that was very cool because they had like texts come in from the general population and like voice messages and stuff. And by and large, what still surprises me is just because I'm in like this is my life at this point. Women are still very afraid. They're still very afraid. They do not know where the fear comes from, which tells you how embedded the fear is, right? If you're like, hey, why are you afraid of that? If you don't even know why you're afraid of it, that just means it's in the ether, it's in the zeitgeist. It's just a fact that hormones are dangerous for you. And so they don't understand what is going on in their body. They don't understand that the prescriptions we use are by and large now just replacing what your ovary made. That's called body identical, bioidentical. It's like giving you insulin and it's giving you thyroid, and it's giving you back cortisol, it's giving you back what your body already makes, right? Which, if I could make up another word so we didn't have to call it a drug, because women have like, especially our healthy Pacific Northwest women, they have such a stigma of like, I don't want to take a drug. And I'm like, well, this is the other thing people don't understand. There are consequences to living in a body that doesn't have hormones. There's consequences to that. We know that. And so you deciding to take something or to not take something, they both have risks and benefits, right? What you must do is you must decide what's the best risk benefit for you. But don't think that not taking hormones after your ovaries are done doesn't come without issues. The biggest one being hip fracture and frailty. metabolic health, mood changes, sleep issues, right? So that's the default if you don't take hormones. Now, I'm not here, and I don't want anybody to ever misquote me. I'm not here to say everybody needs to go on hormones. That's not my platform. My platform is education, knowledge, and empowerment. Understand how your body works, understand how to advocate for yourself, understand what your options are. That's my platform. I might sound heavily hormone biased because, man, you tell me somebody who's done more research than me on this, I can tell you who they are because they're my friends, right? But it's like I'm so seeped in the data that to me it makes no sense that you wouldn't replace an organ that you outlived the lifespan of. But that's because I've been doing this on repeat for 5 years. But I'm not
There,
here to say everybody needs to go on hormones. I'm here to say get educated. Nobody's coming to save you. Get empowered. Ultimately, it's your choice.
yeah, I mean, and there's so much to be said for the benefits outweighing the risks. And, we talked about cardiovascular health. We talked about brain health and longevity and all of these things. And you said hip fractures. What else, how else do we benefit from taking hormones,
No,
Dr. Kelly?
pick a body part.
Yeah, body part. So,
No,
and
here, pick a body part. Give me something. You want to talk about eyes? Great. Less glaucoma, less macular degeneration. You want to talk about ears? Great. Less vertigo. You want to talk about teeth? Less periodontitis, less tooth loss. Pick a body part. Hormones decrease the risk of everything. Shoulders decreases frozen shoulders, decreases osteoarthritis, decreases knee replacement. Pancreas decreases insulin resistance, decreases the risk of diabetes. Brain decreases the risk of depression. Sleep decreases the issues with sleep. Like pick a body part,
part.
it helps everything. Why? Because hormone receptors are everywhere. These hormones aren't built to do one thing, they're built to help healthy cells be healthy. You have cells in every organ. So that's why I say pick a body part. It helps everything.
It's so mind-boggling to me, but we're here right now, and it's so exciting that we have this opportunity. So you've talked about perimenopause and women starting to look at hormones and much earlier. And I think that, all of the conversations that I've had with women in their 30s and 40s, they're like, huh? Huh? How do we start talking to younger women about this conversation so that they know to get educated earlier rather than later? Like, I know that the M factor two is coming out, and will you talk a bit about that and how we start getting that word out to younger women?
Yeah, so the M Factor is an amazing documentary that came out, what was it, last year? God,
Last
the
year.
world is moving fast at this point. So last year, shockingly. It's excellent. It's on PBS. Everybody needs to watch it. And then the M Factor 2.0 called Before the Pause is coming out March-ish on PBS, which again is perimenopause. It's going to be awesome. And that's it. I mean, I don't understand why this is a difficult question, Joni. Like, do you tell younger people about puberty? Do you tell them about the dangers of drinking and driving? Do you tell them about pregnancy? Do you tell them about safe sex? Like, why is this a challenge to tell them about something that normally happens to their bodies? Like, hey, luckily in the world now, we outlive our ovary lifespan. That's fantastic news. But things happen when we outlive our ovary lifespan. These are the, things to look for. These are the treatment options. Like you've done way harder things than talk to people about perimenopause.
Right.
You just need to normalize it.
Yes, and that's an opportunity for all of us to start talking more to younger women about this topic. So
Here's
you
the story, Joni. They're already
okay?
paying attention. They know. Like the millennials are on top of this because they're looking at you, your group, and your age. Like, why are you guys suffering? Right. And that's how the millennials are. So Gen X is really the generation that like blew open hormones and perimenopause. And, because we're not going to stand for this. Right. We watched the boomers. We're watching our mother's age. We're watching our grandmothers. Now the millennials are coming along and they're like, you fools, why are you suffering? I'm going to choose to not suffer in the first place. So the millennials are the generation that are going to be on hormones as soon as possible because they're like, tell me again why we should suffer, right? And then when you think about that, you're like, oh yeah, no, good job, millennials. Like, good point, fair, right? So yes, you should communicate with the younger generations, absolutely, but like they're paying attention. We're on social media. This is on podcasts. This is not something that you have to bear the burden of, but they're and mark my word, they're going to age very differently than the boomers have aged. Like on average, the boomers are overweight, diabetic. They're on their second knee replacement. They're taking an SSRI. Like the boomers are in bad. They're drinking alcohol every night. Like the boomers are in bad shape. And the ones who aren't, like, you know who you are. You're doing great, right? You're doing
That's
awesome.
right.
So the millennials are going to age very different than the boomers have, because this is, as a society, this is the first time we've ever made it in group to our 70s and 80s in the millions, right? The predictions are nuts. We've never done this before. And people forget that, right? They forget average life expectancy was 47 for the majority of the last quarter of a million years. So let that sink in, to say if you want to be highly functional at 82, you're going to have to be proactive and preventative. And what we've been doing for the last couple of decades is like, well, when it breaks, we'll fix it. And I'm not blaming the women. I'm equally blaming the healthcare system on this. But where the millennials are coming in is they're like, how about we don't get frail and then break a hip? How about we don't gain 30 pounds and become diabetic? How about we take care of our metabolic health, our mental health, our bones and our muscles and our sleep, and not suffer? And that is the big, big change that is happening. And frankly, I don't think the medical system's ready for it. But it's exciting and it's fun. And the medical system will be ready for it because the millennials are going to build it.
Absolutely. I'm looking forward to that, and I'm hoping that all of my young friends will live a much better life, which you say they will. So let's switch back to midlife and let's talk about sex. You speak openly about intimacy and sexuality in midlife. What do you wish that everyone knew about pleasure and desire and connection during this transition?
Oh, well, your sex life is
No,
yours. That so many women think they're doing this for somebody else, or they're doing this because they should, or they're doing it because it's a performance, or pick a reason why women feel very burdened by this topic. We've also been shamed. I can't say vulva on Instagram without worrying that I'm going to get blocked or banned. It's absolutely insanity that we can't say clitoris, vulva, labia. Those are normal body parts that have functions. None of that should be shameful. None of that should be banned. None of that should be violating Meta's terms and conditions of friendly chatter. Education is the way out of this. That's why I wrote my first book. Everybody should read it. You Are Not Broken. Read it with your partner. Give it to your 20-year-old daughter. It is the adult sex education that you never got, and explains a ton of why a lot of women say I could take or leave sex at this point in my life, because it was never enjoyable in hers in the first place. Or it was, but now she's not taking the hormones that she needs, et cetera, et cetera. And we did a massive disservice in 1998. What happened in 1998? Clinton was getting in trouble for blue dresses. In 1998, we put Viagra on the market. So we medicalized, for lack of a better term, we medicalized male sexual health. Many, many men could now perform in ways that they weren't able to perform before. Why? Because they're living longer than the age of some of their body parts. We're helping them replace it, right? Or helping healthy cells stay healthy. Well, 90% of men are heterosexual. And what we did in 1998 is we helped the man and we didn't help the partner. And what we did is we destabilized relationships. And that's, in addition, we've got the FDA, et cetera, who said, watch the documentary, what do we need a bunch of horny women walking around for? Well, if you give a guy Viagra and you don't help out the woman's pain or give her vaginal estrogen or help her with her hormones, you've destabilized a relationship. And so the time is now to say, You get to decide what you want to do with your life. And again, this is the same thing with me and hormones. I'm not here to tell everybody they need to go have a sex life. I don't care what you do. This is your body. I care desperately that you're educated, that you're empowered, that you can advocate, that you have the knowledge that you need to live the best life that you want to live.
Oh, I love that so much. So everyone get this book. You Are Not Broken. It's fabulous. Someone in the chat said it's her
Oh,
favorite book. Every
thanks.
absolute favorite. So we're wondering also what you're seeing in the workplace. I know that a local company here, Medovia, is doing a lot to work with
Love Medovia.
Medovia. So, what are you seeing with major corporations, Kelly, and others doing to help women in this phase of life during their workday, which is we spend more time at work than anywhere else. So, what are you seeing on a national level around that?
Listen, we don't need more fans. Hot flashes happen for a reason. They happen because of low hormones. Women need health care, not more fans. So it needs to be done properly and not dismissed. We know women leave the workforce. This is a huge financial issue, not only for companies, but also for individual women. What are the devastating things that happen right around the time of menopause? I quit my job because I don't have the energy or I'm suffering. Number two, I get a divorce. Huge financial implications. This is a big problem. Now, the UK is ahead of us because their workforce is even more dire than our workforce is. And they're very motivated to keep people in the workforce. How do you keep people in the workforce? Keep them healthy. You got to sleep, right? You got to sleep if you need to work. Got to have you sleep. So, what the UK has done is they said on your 50th birthday doctor visit, we're going to mandate that we talk about menopause now. In addition, should you choose hormones, your hormones for a year's worth of hormones are going to cost 12 pounds. What is that, $18?
$18.
So the UK is massively ahead of us. And don't get me wrong, this is finances. Money talks. Why are they doing this? Because they love women? I hope so. That's nice. But to keep women in the workforce, they want a tax base. They need employers. So America's just behind because we're bigger and we're more disjointed and all that stuff. But it's like menopause happens when you're a top senior executive. This is not like entry level people quitting. This is like highly functioning, highly trained people leaving the workforce. And I mean, and they've been saying this well before the menopause movement started, is like law firms can't keep their top lawyers. They can't throw enough money at these women to keep them in their jobs. Right. And so when that doesn't work, what do you got to look at? Oh my gosh, how are they thriving? How do they feel? All that stuff. So I think it's the next move. And that's, I just use the example of the law firms, but um, it's happening. They're waking up. But the more people, you have to talk about this. You can't see ovaries shriveling up. If you could, it probably would help the cause. But it's not just women leaders, men leaders, like they get it. They understand, they want to help. So I don't think it is just on women. This is a 50% of the population. Everybody needs to know about this. If men's testicles fell off at the average age of 51, there'd be testosterone in the 7-Elevens, right? So,
Absolutely, no
it's
question
like
about it.
normalize the conversation and this, and I don't say this to scare people, but it's like you're outliving your ovaries, you guys. What are you
Yeah,
going
we
to do?
are.
What are you going to do
Absolutely.
about it? That's what's going on. And anybody who thinks that that's scary needs to do some work on like understanding how their body works, right? Like you're outliving your ovaries. What are you going to do about it? And if your choice is to do nothing, that's fine. That's on you. But choose that after you get an education about it, because how it starts is most people don't have an education about it. But if you took a man and you cut his testicles off and then you said, show up to work on Tuesday,
Mhm.
he would have some issues with that.
Absolutely. And so, again, talk to your doctor. If you're not getting the right answer, go to someone else. Ask your friends who they're going to. There are resources out there for you to get help, to get educated, and to thrive, and have wonderful longevity into your 90s. And so, the book, The Menopause Moment, is a fabulous resource. In closing, Kelly, any closing thoughts for our audience
Well,
today?
I think you should go through there's a lot of questions that we should answer to respect your people. So I can just do it. You don't have to. Oh, yeah, important for ADHD. Yeah, absolutely. ADHD gets worse when hormones go down. Can I repeat the telemed sites? JOI does testosterone in Washington State. MIDI does testosterone in I think about 15 states for people who don't live in Washington State. These American telehealth companies do not work in Canada. To my knowledge, correct me if I'm wrong, Canada does not have the telehealth businesses like America does. You guys have a kind of a limited healthcare system that is completely run by the government. So innovation is not your strong suit. Prove
So
me wrong, but this is me talking to a lot of Canadians. Um, if a
one
doc wants to
says,
give osteoporosis meds instead of hormones, it is a difficult conversation. I don't think that has to be a difficult conversation. uh, Choose not to think that. Choose to think, I need to understand why they're recommending osteoporosis medications, and I need to communicate to them why I want hormones. So it's a choice to think that that's a difficult conversation. And I would tempt you to think about it not being a difficult conversation. How could this be interesting? How could we both learn something? Right? Mindset really matters. I have a whole chapter in the book on mindset, but if you go in saying this is going to be hard, whether that's hormones or your sex life or a job conversation, it will be
it
hard.
will be, it
The,
will be
the
hard.
brain the brain creates the reality you give it, right? So I would challenge you to think how can I make this not a difficult
And
conversation?
that is such a great chapter, by the way. I highly recommend you read that chapter on mindset. It's fabulous. And Kelly, you're so right. You know, what
Thank
you
you.
think is what you create. So
That's great. I have moderate aplastic anemia. I'm wondering what you know about testosterone raising red blood cells. So anemia can be because of, I'm not saying this is this scenario. I'm just saying testosterone helps support red blood cells. That's all I'm saying. If you take too high of a dose of testosterone, you can have too much. Um, it's pretty rare with a female dose testosterone that I'm going to ever see changes in blood cells. So is this recorded to share with someone? Yeah, I think
yes,
Joni's
it is.
recording it. If she wants to give me the audio, I'll put it on my podcast. For people who don't
Yeah,
know, the podcast is called You
we'll
Are
be
Not
sharing it
Broken.
on our YouTube channel. We'll send it out to everyone and also share it with Kelly as well.
Yep. I think I got all the questions, but put them
Is
down
there
in there if
research
I
for
missed one.
ASD in menopause? Did you get that one?
What's ASD?
I don't know. ASD and menopause.
Ooh, wait.
Uh, Here, let's
Oh,
see.
autism. Is there
Autism.
research
Okay.
also? Yeah, there was actually a talk on autism and sexual health at one of the ISWISH conferences, ISWISH International Society for the Study of Women's Sexual Health. Autism and menopause not as well researched, but similar. I would say similar to ADHD is estrogen, testosterone, progesterone help support neurons. They help the dopamine pathway. They help the serotonin pathway. So any sort of underlying thing can be made worse or exacerbated when you are taking away things that help healthy cells stay healthy.
And then the ADHD as
Yeah,
well.
ADHD, the dopamine connection.
Yeah.
Many people, so people will say, I actually went to an ADHD lecture. It was like midlife and ADHD or something. And at the end of it, I just raised my hand and I'm like, because they're like, oh, all these women in their 40s are getting diagnosed with ADHD. And I'm like, I raised my hand and I'm like, how do you know that's not just perimenopause? And they're like, yeah, it's probably a lot of it's probably perimenopause. So when the brain loses estrogen and testosterone, you have trouble with focus, you have trouble with, attention. You all it looks like ADHD. Now, women get diagnosed less than men in the first place. Women are also very good at coping with ADHD and masking ADHD. So it's like you could have always had it, but you were able to function and like get by and keep it going. And then you just lose your support with that, with your hormones. And then you're like, here it is, my midlife ADHD. So it's like, was it always there, but you were able to cope? Or is it new? Or is it just perimenopause? All of the things to think about. So to me, I'm like, well, let's get you on hormones. Let's see how that changes your
Yep.
symptoms. Um, I just had a woman, we were able to get her hormones dialed in enough that now she stopped vaping and she stopped her ADHD meds because she doesn't need either one of those things anymore. Like it's pretty profound, the story. And that's like, why is this my gig? Getting women healthy again is the
Mhm.
best effing job on the entire planet. Like it is, the highs are so high and the lows are really rare, like really rare. So it's an awesome job. And for a woman to be like, oh yeah, I stopped vaping and I stopped my ADHD meds because I just don't need them anymore. Turns out her brain just needs a higher level of estrogen to function, and she loves it. But it's like when we treat everybody in the healthcare system like a cookie cutter, or we say you're just too old for something, it's very dismissive, and we miss the opportunity to like fine tune people. Um,
Kelly, I love what you said about that because the reason why I am so motivated by Rebel 11 is because I want women to take over the world faster. And with your help and you being a champion for women's health, we're going to get there. So Margot asked if there's time for this question, if SSRIs could getting on hormones help wean off SSRIs?
yeah, fantastic question. So Dr. Louise Newsome, if you don't follow her on Instagram. She is amazing. She's I would remember when I said there's not many people who know more than me. She knows more than me. Um, she's doing amazing research. She published an abstract. So it's not a paper, it's an abstract. That's prelim data. So published an abstract in 2025. Who is Dr. Louise Newsome? She has a free
Please do
balance
so.
app. The app is called Balance. It is a free menopause app. She's got an amazing website. So Dr. Louise Newsome out of the UK. She's got I think her podcast is called the Louise Newsome Podcast. Anyways, so she looked at the amount of women on SSRIs. So they come into our clinic on SSRIs. She starts them on estrogen. How many are able to come off their SSRIs by starting on estrogen? A small amount, off the top of my head, 5%, 10%, something like that. Then they get stable on their estrogen. She starts them on testosterone. Massive, massive more come off their SSRIs by starting on testosterone. Why? Because testosterone works in the brain. It works in the dopamine pathways. It works in the serotonin pathways. It helps mood. It makes people feel more like themselves. So I like to repeat things with blunt, short sentences because once you understand how this stuff works, it's not mystery science theater as to why you get off your SSRIs. It helps your brain function better. And many women in perimenopause and menopause, they'll say, I knew I wasn't depressed. Like I knew that wasn't the issue, but all they gave me was SSRIs. It was the only option they gave me. But these women know, they're like, but I wasn't depressed. Things were just off. And if you look at the studies, they're starting to study this more and more. Again, remember how I said this is soft? It's soft stuff. I can't X-ray Joni and be like, Joni doesn't feel like Joni today. It's a soft thing, and medicine likes measuring stuff, right? So, what percentage of women in perimenopause say they don't feel like themselves? 40 to 60%. It
Wow.
is absolutely massive. Why? Because your brain is changing. You're losing your estrogen, you're losing your testosterone, your brain is changing. You go into the doctor and you say you don't feel like yourself. I'll leave you with one other story. This is basically the story as to like why I ended up quitting surgery and going all in on hormones. So a woman came to visit me for bladder leakage. And we ended up doing a procedure for that and it went well. But before the procedure, she was talking about not sleeping well or something. She was like 52. It was kind of a classic menopause age and classic menopause symptom. So I was like, oh, blah, blah, blah. Chatted with her about hormones, started her on an estrogen patch. Nothing fancy. These are like cheap generic meds that have been around for decades. Like this is not rocket science. So did her bladder surgery, had her come back. How's the bladder? Great, fantastic, no leaking, very happy. How's the estrogen patch? And she's like, oh, I forgot to tell you, you fixed my anger. And I was like, excuse me? Because she didn't tell me she was angry. It was like a sleep issue that she was telling me about. And she's like, yeah, um, I am so short with my family. I'm so short with my kids. And I know that that's not me. I'm not an angry person, but it's just been like that for like the past couple of years. And I didn't know why. And she's like, the estrogen patch, that's all gone. I feel like myself again. And I had two thoughts. My first thought was, it's incredibly unsafe for a woman to go to a doctor and to say she's angry, right? So most women aren't going to go to doctors. Like she was there for bladder leakage and sleep issues. I didn't even know she was angry, right? So it's very unsafe for women to say they don't feel like themselves at the doctor's office. And then number two is the power of hormones to make you feel like yourself. And I will tell you, there is nothing better on the planet than getting women to feel like themselves again. It is the absolute best thing. And so she
Absolutely.
was one of my keystone patients that like slowly I was like, I can't do what I'm doing anymore because over here, this is so incredibly powerful. This is all I want to do. And so she was one of my, how
Kelly,
how did you get on NPR for an hour yesterday? Like she was one of my stories.
I'm so thrilled that you are a champion for all of us who have been through menopause, who all of those women who are going to go through menopause are in perimenopause. Thank you so much for being a champion for all of us. All
Well,
of us,
Yoni,
thank you.
thank you for your platform. Like, thank you for bringing women together. Book clubs are absolutely the best way for women to get educated about this.
Absolutely.
Like, it's fun because you can, you have something to talk about. Um, it's really the way forward. And I think I agree with you. Women are going to take over the world.
Absolutely.
I'm not sure they're going to do it when only 5% are on hormones. There's too
We're
much
going to get them
suffering,
there, Kelly.
right? Like women live more years in ill health than men. That's not a good prescription for
That's
taking
not,
over the world.
no,
So we've
no.
got to switch that in order to get Joni's vision more more
Well,
real.
I'm 100%, 500% committed to that, Kelly. And thank you again. For those of you who are in Seattle, there will be an event, a kickoff event for the M Factor 2 in February. So please look for that information on Revel 11, Midovia, Hot Paws Health, and Cary Grant Skincare. We're all working together on that screening. Kelly, I've heard that you're going to be there, which is fantastic.
The rumor might be true.
The rumor might be true, so look for that information. Also, the M Factor 2, as Kelly said, will be coming out in March. There's not an actual date yet, but look for that on PBS. And thank you again for joining us. I look forward to seeing you in Seattle again, too. And here's to the menopause revolution, Kelly. Let's do this. You are doing it. And
Thanks,
thank you,
Joni.
thank you, thank you. Okay, take care, everyone. We hope to
Bye,
see you very
everybody. Have a
soon.
good
Bye.
day.
Happy holidays, everyone.
Bye bye.